Hey guys, TrainerDC here, coming at you with another video. We've been getting a lot of information from the most recent Terra leak, and one of the pieces of news that we received was that apparently the Scarlet and Violet DLC's location had changed throughout development. So this is coming from Central Leaks on Twitter, and apparently the Scarlet and Violet DLC was originally supposed to take place in Kalos and Alola respectively, before being changed to obviously Kitakami and Unova in the final version of the game. I find this to be rather fascinating for a couple of reasons. So first and foremost, let's just touch on the first part of the DLC first, being Kalos and Kitakami. So apparently the Teal Mask Part 1 of Scarlet and Violet's DLC was originally supposed to take place in Kalos before at some point being changed to Kitakami. I'm kind of curious as to why exactly they made this change, because Kitakami is seemingly a brand new place within the Pokemon world. It's not attached to any other region. Even though people like to say it's a part of Johto or has some similarities to Johto, there is no in-universe confirmation that that is the case. So to our knowledge, Kitakami is a brand new place. And I'm just very curious as to why Kalos was not used for the first part of the DLC. In the original map for Scarlet and Violet, if you look at it, there's one section of the map outside of Area 0 that is kind of grayed out, and that is the top right corner of the map, which a lot of people at the time were saying this might be Kalos, this might be Southern Kalos that we're going to explore whenever the DLC comes out. And I would say that this leak seemingly is confirming that, because the reason why people were saying this was twofold. Number one, that part of the Paldea map had a lot of Pokemon native to Kalos within it. And number two, if you look at the real world map of Spain and France, that part of the real world map actually is where Spain and France interconnect. So that is why people thought that, hey, this grayed out section is the Kalos region. We're going to get to explore Southern Kalos in the DLC. And I would have to presume that this grayed out section of the map is remnants of their initial plan, because that's the one thing that was always head scratching to me with Scarlet and Violet. Like, why is there two sections of the map that are grayed out and you can do nothing at all to fill these sections up on your, map in game? Obviously, the first of which is Area 0. I presume once we get to Area 0, it would, fill out and the map would become colorful, like we've unlocked this portion of the game. But no, it just stayed grayed out. And then the top right-hand corner of the map that's supposedly supposed to be Kalos also stayed grayed out. And there's no way for us to access that area. And there's basically an invisible wall that we can't even explore at all whatsoever. So I am curious why they changed it to Kitakami, because I feel like in-universe lore-wise, it would have made a lot more sense to visit the Kalos region to explore Southern Kalos for the first time, as opposed to exploring the island of Kitakami. It's just a rather weird thing that happened within Scarlet and Violet's DLC. And just a side note on the DLC itself, I am kind of curious as to why the DLC for Scarlet and Violet took us outside of Paldea. Like, if you look at the DLC for Sword and Shield, right, it was the Crown Tundra and the Isle of Armor, both of which were off the coast of Galar, right? They are connected to the Galar region, so there's lore that ties into Galar's lore that takes place on an island, off the coast of Galar, and basically this landmass, the Crown Tundra, to the south of Galar, so it is connected to that region directly. But for some reason, it seems like this was just their idea from the start with Paldea and its DLC for Scarlet and Violet. They didn't want to explore more regions of Paldea or more parts of Paldea. They wanted to explore other regions, and that ties into the second DLC, where in the final version of the DLC, the Teal Mask, we explore Blueberry Academy, which is an island in the Unova region. Apparently, this was originally supposed to be Alola, and I would have to imagine for this one, I think it's a little bit more clear as to why they switched it from Alola to Unova for this instance. And I think that's just because we were all expecting the next game after Scarlet and Violet to be Black and White remakes. Obviously, that did not happen because we got Legends ZA, a game that is returning us to the Kalos region, taking place exclusively within Lumio City. So I think probably the reason why they decided to switch it to Unova is just because, hey, we know you guys have been waiting for something Unova related. We're not going to get to that right now because there's other games we want to do before going back to Unova one day, which they will eventually go back to Black and White, and we'll talk about that in another video because that's something that was touched on in this leak. But they were probably probably like, okay, we know you guys want Unova, so we're going to give you this little island within the Unova region that basically has a lot of different biomes and whatnot. There was that cave, I forgot the name of it, but there's a cave that's straight up one-to-one remade in 3D as if it were in Unova. That's basically filling the void of your Unova remakes, your black and white remakes for now. To me, that's the explanation as to why Blueberry Academy was switched from Alola to Unova. But from a in-universe perspective, I feel like it being in Alola would make more sense just thematically, right? As it is already, Alola is made up of 4 islands, with also the Aether Foundation being this man-made island within the middle of the region. It would kind of make sense that, hey, we have another man-made island that's actually an academy that's formed within the Alola region. Whereas with Unova, it kind of just feels like it's just out of left field and we're just doing it because we have to do something Unova related. We have to do something for Generation 5. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like, in all honesty, the original locations for the DLC, and don't get me wrong, I do like Scarlet and Violet's DLC, but I feel like the original locations for the DLC, being Kalos and Alola, make a lot more sense in the context of just the Pokemon world, as opposed to Kitakami and Unova. I still don't know what Kitakami is. Like, it's been how many years? 2 years since the DLC came out, and I still don't know why Kitakami is exactly a thing. Like, the thing, and I alluded to this earlier in the video and touched on it a bit with the DLC, is typically the DLC, and I know we've only had one instance of DLC prior to this, so there's not really a trend for us to base this off of, but I would imagine that if you're doing a DLC for the Paldea region for Scarlet and Violet, you would want it to tie into the lore of Paldea, and Kitakami really doesn't. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm forgetting something because it's been 2 years since I played it, but how does Kitakami really tie into the Paldea region other than we're going on, what, a school trip to Kitakami? I guess it works within the context of Scarlet and Violet and the fact that we are a kid going to school, that we take a field trip to Kitakami, and then later on we go to another academy, being Blueberry Academy. Other than that, I feel like it would have been cooler to get more lore on the Paldea region, to find more parts of the region. Whereas when you think about it from an in-universe lore perspective, why is it that Terapagos's DLC, you know, this treasure Pokemon that is kind of looming throughout the entirety of Scarlet and Violet, why is it tied to the Blueberry Academy DLC when it's a Pokemon that's within Area Zero, right? It doesn't really make sense from that perspective. I know, I forgot the character's name, but that lady is kind of curious about Area Zero, and she ends up going with us to Blueberry Academy and eventually comes back with us to Area Zero to discover Terapagos, and eventually we discover the extra Paradox Pokemon within Area Zero as well. Wouldn't it have made more sense if we explored other parts of the Paldea region? I don't know, maybe that's just me. I do like the DLC at the end of the day, but I kind of wish it was self-contained within Paldea, but it seems like from the start they wanted to go outside of the Paldea region for the DLC, and originally it was going to be Kalos and Alola before being switched to Kitakami and Unova. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the fact that apparently Scarlet and Violet's DLC was originally supposed to take place in Kalos and Alola respectively before being switched to Kitakami and Unova? Do you agree with me that the original locations for the DLC actually make more sense than the final locations that we got? Or do you disagree with me and you like the path that Game Freak chose to go down? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from Trainer DC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.